On a Tuesday morning and coming to you from a very early Los Angeles. It's really making me rethink our start time, folks. Well, welcome to Cloud Talk Live, everyone. My name is Jeff DeVerter, Chief Technology Evangelist for us here at Rackspace Technology. And I'm on the road. I've got some lights. I've got the fancy camera. I don't have a lot of the overlays and the sound effects, but we're gonna power through this thing. So you know all the rules. I'd love for you to introduce yourselves. This is not just my guest and I, Robert and I, talking to you. We want to engage you in the conversation. The only way we can do that is if you introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you are. Put it right down there in the comments of whatever platform you're watching us on: LinkedIn, YouTube, the Twitters, or X, or whatever we call it these days. It's hard to keep up. Also, this audio, the audio from this event, will be available in the podcast stream. The only way you can get that, of course, is to subscribe to the podcast Cloud Talk. It's found anywhere the podcasts can be found. So check it on out. And also, every Thursday now, we have brand new content coming out. In fact, this week, it's an interview that I did with Brian Lilly. Now, Brian is the president of Private Cloud Technologies here at Rackspace, and quite an accomplished individual. I think you will really enjoy that conversation. All right. Oh, yes, Susan, we do miss Rob Legess. We'll talk about Rob for just a few minutes when Mr. Scoble joins us here. Welcome from Mumbai. We're glad that you're here. Chicago is here. Welcome, Tony. Glad that you have joined. And Texas. Of course, Texas has to show up. I wonder if anybody from California is going to be here, other than Robert and I, because it is ridiculously early. All right, who else do we have here? Fathom Realty in San Antonio. Welcome. I love that. Julie is here. Julie, glad that you're here from Dublin. Are you working today or are you on vacation? All right, enough of me chit-chattering. Everyone, welcome. So glad that everyone is here. Join in. Say hi to Robert Scoble. He is somebody that I have known for a good long time. Followed him, of course, before he became a racker, was very aware of who Robert was. But then he became a racker, and that's where we really got to know each other. So Daniel, let's bring old Robert up on stage here, and we'll begin our chat. We're going to get into all kinds of stuff here today. Robert, welcome. You've been up for minutes.
I've been up for get up fast, right?
Get up
Much
and
earlier
go.
than I usually.
Oh, good, man. Hey, it's so glad to see you. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for being a part of the program here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, Robert. You and I spent a fair amount of time together when you were over with us at Rackspace. And of course, Susan Price, you saw the comment maybe stream by really quickly on the side there that, makes her think of our good friend, Rob Legess. That was a sad passing.
We miss him a lot. He's one of those guys who would call you at 11 p.m. and then we would talk till 5 in the morning or something.
Yep. Yep. He and I had some really interesting conversations. But quite a unique individual. I've never known somebody to be as passionate about the things he was passionate about, but yet I think the right word to use is graceful and forgiving if somebody didn't agree with him. You knew that there was you didn't cross a line of how he felt about you personally if you believed or thought something differently. He'd get you onto his side eventually, but he'd do it with grace.
Oh yeah, and he had his ways. He called my wife to get me hired as a racker.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Rob was the one who brought you in and convinced you. Although apparently it sounds like he convinced your wife.
Yeah, that's the way the world works, isn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about, Robert. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, hey, when you were with us over at Rackspace, you helped tell the story of what Rackspace was up to at the time. You had been doing that, of course, as you came out of Microsoft. But as you left us, you were really captivated by what was happening in the AR/VR space. Yeah. And now we find a lot of your conversations are centric in and around AI. Not that you have don't talk about other things, of course.
No, I still talked about AR a lot. It's just AI is the hot thing this summer. Right?
It is the flavor of the year, isn't it? We came back from. I keep saying we woke up after New Year's Eve on January 2nd, and all of a sudden everybody could spell ChatGPT.
Yeah, in reality, AI is going to be driving the augmented reality. We just need the augmented reality glasses to get a lot smaller than they are, and we're still a few years away. So
Yeah, physics
I
is
mean, we
still
are getting the
challenging.
Vision Pro, but the Vision Pro is a device you're not going to wear outside. It's going to be for developers or for somebody who really is willing to put up with a lot of pain. Because after about an hour, I hear it gets a little heavy.
Gets a
So
little
on
heavy.
your
Well,
face.
I think that's that one device, if you believe what everybody says, that reveals the art of the possible and hopefully inspires others to greater innovation, so that they do get smaller, and there are
At
ways to
least the
deal with that.
2D screens are going to be badass in it, I hear, so you can actually work. But,
Yeah, I
and I think
really
that's
wanted to with the Quest, and to be able to work in that function and have all the screens and all the things, but the resolution just wasn't there, and I didn't have the money for the fancier ones.
yeah, it'll come down in price. When we get to glasses, the people who make the waveguides, the optics for the glasses, say that it's actually cheaper to make a pair of glasses, at least in your BOM cost,
Yeah,
than to make a phone. And so
really,
they will start up expensive because this industry spent so much in R&D. Apple alone has spent around $40 billion
brilliant. Yeah.
in building these devices. But as the volumes start going up, so a decade from now, the price will start coming way down, and that's when the mainstream shows up.
Well, and that becomes an interesting collision point too, when we think about something that's truly wearable and truly transparent to the wearer, and where we
Yeah,
might be from a technology point of view. I mean, right now, we're talking about the end of the year, beginning of next, where a GPT type experience runs natively on our mobile. Think
yeah.
about
Did you see the Cerebus that has a new LLM that runs on phones that I was
really,
retweeted last night? And this is magic, right? Because it crunches down, it compresses a lot of human knowledge into that LLM, that large language model, and it
right.
runs without being connected. So you could be on your phone talking to your AI, even out in Yosemite or Yellowstone where there's no connectivity,
And
assuming you don't have
still
a
and still
Starlink.
have your personal assistant there explaining, the
Yeah, or
intricacies of
whatever
human.
you want, right?
Yeah,
You could be talking to it about, what to do in the backcountry in Yosemite and probably would know something. Yeah,
probably would know something. Who knows how much power it's going to consume? But it really does bring that art of, yeah. It's the second time I've used the phrase art of the possible, when we think about if those large language models with that amount of power and capability can exist natively in a mobile device.
yeah.
What could it do about arranging my day, about communicating with the emails that are coming in, engaging with the world even while I'm
Or
sleeping?
even saving your friend's life, right? If you're in the backcountry and you have, your friend has a heart attack, what do you
Yeah,
do? Oh, let's look it up, and it'll
yeah.
tell you. By the
Tell you
way,
what to do.
LLMs tell you that kind of thing. Like, how do you do CPR? It'll tell you step by step what to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Robert, what are you up to these days? What fills your
Oh
time?
man.
As you've transitioned away from Rackspace years ago and gone off to other bigger and greater things.
Other than my addiction to Twitter, which is
Or
now, I guess, X. Yeah.
X. Everything is X. Yeah. X.
Everything. Elon, man, he gets in there and just changes everything up, and gotta love him or hate him for it. But yeah,
That is the magic of Elon, love or hate.
I'm following 70,000 people in the AI space on X, and
Yeah.
I'm following about 6,000 over on Threads. So we could talk about social networking.
Yeah.
I did write a book about that a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm talking to a lot of AI people and watching that space real closely
Yeah.
and trying to make sense of it, and then working with Irina to write papers about what's coming. And we've written, I think, 7 papers so far that are about 50 pages that talk about things like the new Siri or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm about to start up a new show. That, in fact, you're the first one to see my new setup here. We painted the
Nice.
walls and got it all set up to look
Very
pretty
honored.
nice. So I'm getting ready for a new show that's gonna be about AI and AR
Very cool. Well, let's
mostly.
talk a little deeper around the AI stuff. There's a lot of,
Yeah.
there's so many angles you could take on it. In fact, you posted yesterday, reposted a link to a new Apple patent. When we think about AI, and it's this, I think where things get really interesting is that collision
Yeah.
between the organic and the silicon.
Right.
And it was about their patent around a new interface that they are patenting for. They designed it into an earbud. of how electronics might be that human to brain in interface. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, we're clearly heading that way. In fact, I won't get it, but I have a device over here from a company called NextMind that
Yeah.
puts a series of sensors on the back of your head where your brain does the visual processing. So by reading the electrical signals coming off the back of your head, the AI can figure out some things that you're looking at.
Right.
Right, just from outside your head. We're
Just
not talking
amazing.
about Neuralink putting the wires on the brain,
Yeah.
but so you're starting to see devices like this come along. I just don't. I don't like wearing it.
Yeah.
It's not very comfortable because it has to press the sensors against your skin to even have an attempt to pick up
To pick up the
what's
stuff.
coming off the brain in the back. But there's other devices coming. Zuckerberg has an armband where you can just by barely thinking about shooting somebody, you can shoot somebody, right? Because it picks just a little twitch up from your
Just,
electrical signals
yeah.
and can pick up things like that and add an extra arm to your games or something like that, right?
Mm,
Because you can control that extra arm differently than you control this arm, right? So
yeah. Very
a
interesting.
fun
And that,
world
of course,
coming.
that, of course, being the bleeding edge of what's happening in the space. But let's talk about it maybe from an enterprise, from a business point of view.
Yeah.
Where do you think, even today, that companies should be utilizing AI to create an advantage? And meaning an advantage could be defined as getting a product to market faster, having an edge up against a competitor, whatever that might be. How could they be doing more if they were using AI effectively today?
Oh, well, it's, when I talked to Volkswagen, they digitized their entire factory floor. They made a
Yeah,
digital twin of that, right?
yeah.
And now they did that partly to do training, but partly to be able to reorganize the factory virtually and try it
Mm,
out before they get on the real factory floor and change $1 billion worth of stuff, right?
right. Impact delivery times. Yeah,
It's hard to do that while you're actually running the factory. So, but you can start thinking about, oh, what are you going to do with that data in the future, particularly if you're able to watch the workers work with
yeah.
3D sensors. What kinds of patterns could the factory be taught to see, right? And there's a lot coming. Let's go through just the basics, right?
Yeah.
If you haven't used Chat GPT or something like it, a large language model that you've made yourself, you might not be aware how good it
How
is, right?
really good it
And
is.
how bad it is. It's sort of it messes with your head because it's really, really amazing, but then it'll
And then it'll say something so
confabulate an error.
stupid. Yeah.
you know and so you're right. Your people who need to communicate with each other are instantly improved, right?
Yeah.
Particularly, I mean, I communicate with people at a fairly high level with writing books and blog posts and doing that for my entire career.
Yeah.
Most people don't write that well, right?
Yeah.
So an LLM comes along and they can talk to it and say, hey, I need an email, I need to do this and that and this in the email, and it'll write it for you. And it's like, wow, that really does bring everybody's communication level up. So just
Right.
train your workers to use it,
Right.
and figure out how to make it possible for them to use it. A lot of business people are really freaked out by this,
They are.
right? Because if you're copying a spreadsheet into Chat GPT from your business, it's really cool, right? Because now you can talk to Chat GPT about your spreadsheet. Hey, can you tell me
Just
what's
make sure your company approved. Don't make it your quarterly report for
well,
the
and
SEC
this is
that
where
you
I'm
haven't
going
released yet.
is you just give all of your intellectual property over to ChatGPT potentially. Now they say, oh, we don't do that with that. We don't ingest it or use it for
Right.
training purposes. But if you're coming in through the web interface, no, the terms of service isn't that clear. It's like, yeah, you're being ripped off. If
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
using the API, they're pretty clear. No, we don't ingest off the API. But most
Yeah.
people, who are working, at a
Most
job somewhere,
humans, yeah, information workers are not connecting a spreadsheet via an API. It's copy
no.
paste now.
So you got to be aware that there's rules. This is why a lot of the bleeding edge business people are starting to build or buy their own large language models that they're going to run inside a firewall inside your business.
Isn't that interesting?
And you're going to give the spreadsheet to that, because that can be controlled and it won't upload the intellectual property to like Chat GPT. So a lot of businesses are saying don't use it at all right now until they get this approach up and running, so that you can use their own private LLM. And there's a lot of reasons to do that too, because you can ingest your data, like hook it up to your data lake, ingest your data, and start doing fine training on these large language models.
On your business,
which means you can talk to your own business, right? And have it create, things, or tell you things about your business that Chat GPT couldn't answer. So there's a whole new world coming that IT people inside businesses who are going to buy these systems or implement these systems or build their own teams to build these systems have to be aware of and have to evaluate now and figure out. So right now, a lot of businesses are like, shut it down. Don't let the workers use
let's
it.
Not let them in.
Yeah, because we don't want somebody copying a spreadsheet or hooking it up to a data lake, and all of a sudden all of our data is
all the data goes into there. We're also, we see a lot of companies worried about programmers using it, and then that maybe is code that they're working for another company or that they want to retain the intellectual property for. That starts to become a sticky situation. We're actually helping a fair amount of a bunch of companies right now. We have this new offering at Rackspace. We call it a Foundry, the Foundry for AI, and it's helping them build out in a pretty aggressive fashion, time-wise, these unique situations for them to use generative AI in their business, for their business, just like what you're talking about, behind firewall in some cases private instances, and cognitive services in Azure or other hyperscalers as well. So we actually see this as a massive opportunity where we're going to see people flooding back into and buying hardware again, where maybe they weren't before and they were using public cloud.
So these large language models, they're machines with trillions of knobs, right? Yes. And if you turn the knobs, one of the knobs the right way, it spits out an answer or something, right? It's really cool. But it's really complex too. The bleeding edge people, like if you go to Stanford's AI group, they're now chaining large language models together to do various tasks. For instance, they had one spitting out one side of a debate, had another one spitting out the second side of a debate, and then had a third one judging the two on
no way who won,
on who was winning the debate, right? And they're doing that to try to figure out how to remove the error problem, right? Because these LLMs are hallucinating or confabulating errors. In an Austin restaurant, I asked it, what should I eat at this restaurant? And it told me, it gave me 6 things, but 2 weren't even on the
menu.
Right. So you got to be aware that it causes errors, and you have to build systems to get rid of the errors, right? To validate the errors. And there's lots of work going on there. So I think over the next year, you're going to see a lot of work to get rid of these errors and or validate the answers and or show where the answer came from, those kinds of things, which ChatGPT isn't really good at yet.
No, but I find that it is over on the Bing side of the house. So actually, when I wrote the title and description for this event, I used the Bing chat features, and it does cite where it gets all of its data, and you can even ask it, where did the stuff come from, and it's putting the citations in it, and that's one of the reasons I use that specific model for things like this, is because it is current on what's happening. So it went out and grabbed your information from LinkedIn. It went out and grabbed some of your other content and used that then in formulating the description that we then had a conversation about to refine it better. But that's ultimately how we got where we were here. And that goes back to your point, Robert, of folks really should just start using it personally to do their non-IT specific stuff. I was creating things to be used on the internet. So it's a perfect scenario for it.
Yeah.
Because it
writing a blog post based on this conversation. By the way, this is really crazy. You could take, an hour from now, you could take the video or audio from this conversation, stick it into ChatGPT through Whisper's API. And once it's in, then you can talk to it. You can say, can you write me a tweet based on this conversation that Jeff and Robert just had? Or can you write a blog post or whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and I think I'll have to do that and then write a blog post about writing the blog post through AI.
Which gets down to what it does well. Is, you know, some things it is more accurate at, some things it's less accurate at, right?
Yeah.
Listening is one of the things that seems to be really accurate. A psychiatrist I know at a company called the Palo Alto Clinic,
Yeah.
she had worked with an entrepreneur at Palo Alto Clinic to build a listening system. So it listened to a therapy session I had with her.
I saw your post about this. Yeah.
As it was going along, it was writing highly scientific notes, 7 different kinds of notes. So each note had a whole prompt that it gave the engine to teach it what to do with the transcript it got. And it wrote down, oh, Robert Scoble has PTSD because of this, and you know, and he has this thing and this thing, right? And it just was amazing. In half an hour, it found a lot of my mental illnesses, right, and laid them out. And I posted the notes on Twitter.
You should read, yeah.
But this is something that AI does really, really well. In fact, on the OpenAI ChatGPT iPhone app, in the prompt area, there's a little icon that lets you turn on the microphone and talk to it. That's using Whisper's API.
Oh, really?
You can turn that on, and this is a fun bar trick to do. You can turn that on in a extremely noisy environment, like a factory floor or a bar where there's a lot of noise and music and people, right?
Right.
Hold the microphone 2 feet away from your mouth, it still understands you.
That's
100%, right? And it writes a transcript. Once you send up a transcript of a couple minutes of you talking about some technology or some issue, then it'll start answering you back. It's really crazy, like having a conversation with you, like, oh, it sounds like you 2 blokes are having a fun conversation this morning about AI. You know, did you consider this or that?
You should have asked Robert this question. Robert should have said this when you asked him that question. Yes.
That's when it turns freaky, when you're starting to have a conversation with an AI and it's like a human and you're like, wow, right? Yeah. You know, and I know people who are trying to use this large language model listening on factory floors in machines because it can hear patterns humans can't hear.
Well, and we helped a mining company.
Like, is the machine breaking?
Yes. Well, we helped a mining company do that with one of these. I mean, there's these gargantuan machines that if they break, you know, millions of dollars are lost on a daily basis. And we put sensors in there that just sense the hum of the motor, all the things. And when it started to sense something out, it could tell what it was, ordered the part, scheduled the maintenance, and somebody shows up to fix the thing. And why are you here? Oh, because the thing, it's going to break. Yeah. It's going to
I just had some Freon put in my AC unit, my HVAC unit, and it's coming on fewer times this summer than it did last because it's more efficient, right? It's like, oh, maybe we should have a computer watching that, right?
Maybe we
and
should.
AI is that kind of thing. That's where I would go for AI. You know, hey, watch this pattern and see if something has changed, right?
Yeah.
Or see if something's changed compared to everybody else's machines, right?
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, Susan is teeing me up here. We're getting to the top. We're at the top of the hour, end of our time, Robert. But obviously, this isn't the last we'll hear from you. And you are quite vocal out in the world about all this stuff. So where do people find you? Where are the good places?
Twitter is still the best. I'm on Threads too. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, but Twitter is where I can watch 70,000 people, or X is where I can watch 70,000 people for the moment and retweet them. And that's a big part of what I do. So right now, X, or whatever they used to call Twitter.
Exactly. Well, and I've been trying to keep up with some of the names that have gone by, but folks that you would have remembered, Shaggy's in here. You may remember him from Rackspace.
I do.
Saying nice things. So people can find you there. Thank you, Daniel, for posting at Scobleizer. Well, Robert, thank you so much for being a part of this. I'm going to bend your arm to come in and do a longer form podcast coming up. So folks, make sure you subscribe to the podcast as well so that you can hear that conversation. Have an amazing day. The studio looks fantastic. When can we expect to see your show?
Soon.
Probably
next week or so.
On X, Twitter X?
Yeah, that's where it'll be for now. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless somebody convinces me to go somewhere else, and they haven't yet. No, it's more about having this conversation with a lot of people, and Twitter can be filtered. Threads is fun, but it's very noisy because there's no way to filter out cat photos. Which I love cats, but I don't want to see them.
You don't
on
need
my
that
social
many of them
network when I'm looking for AI people, right?
That's right. Well, Robert, thank you so much for being on the program. So good to see you. I really have missed getting to spend time with you. So thank you so much for being here today. Everyone, you'll be able to follow this, see it on YouTube, of course. It's on LinkedIn. The audio of this will be available on the podcast stream as well. And I'm going to go shove the audio to this in through Whisper into ChatGPT and see what goodness we can get it to create for us, Robert.
It'll write your titles. Will it write them well? That's another question, but
So I already told you, one of my favorite things to do with it, this is a complete aside, is to then have it do this stuff in a different voice. So I was working on one I mentioned I got this podcast coming out about private cloud. And so it came up with a bunch of titles. And I like to say, give me 5 of them, order them by this, change it by this. And then I said, now write them in the voice of Seinfeld. And my favorite one, of course, was, what's the deal with private cloud? Nailed it.
It's a lot of fun. It's endless fun for a weekend, playing with the AIs.
All right, everybody. Have a great day. Robert, now that you're up and going, go have breakfast. Great to see you. And folks, we hope you have a great day. We'll be back here next week with another episode of Cloud Talk Live. Thank you so much.